Okay, let's talk about mortgages. It's probably the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make, right? But the real question is, should you try to navigate that super complicated world all by yourself, or should you call in a pro? In this explainer, we're going to break down if using a mortgage broker is a genius move, or maybe just an extra step you don't really need.
So let's just dive right in. This is the big dilemma for so many people buying a home. Do you go straight to the bank, armed with all your own research, or do you put your trust in a broker to hunt down the best deal for you?
And look, this isn't just some theoretical debate. It's a real-world puzzle, and it's captured perfectly by this Reddit user. They've handled multiple mortgages all on their own, and now they're wondering, have they been missing out this whole time? So let's use their question as our starting point.
First up, let's build the case for hiring an expert. What are the biggest pros to having a mortgage broker fighting in your corner?
Okay, so a huge benefit of a broker, they can be an absolute lifesaver if your finances aren't exactly straightforward. I mean, take this user. Their income came from a family business, and the paperwork was, let's just say, super informal. A good broker knew exactly how to take that beer coaster accounting and turn it into something a bank would actually approve.
Now, if you're self-employed, you know this kind of paperwork all too well. Lenders look at self-employed income totally differently than a regular salary. They often want to see at least 2 years of accounts. And this is exactly where brokers are worth their weight in gold. They know how to frame your finances for the right lender in the right way to give you the best shot.
So it really boils down to this. If your situation is even a little bit tricky, you're a contractor, your income goes up and down, or maybe your credit history has a few bumps, a broker's expertise can honestly be the difference between getting a yes or a no. They are specialists at untangling these financial knots.
And get this, that same Redditor had another story that's just, wow. After getting an initial green light from his bank, the automated system just flat out rejected him. But his broker? He just bypassed that whole computer says no nightmare and found him a cheaper deal fast. It's a perfect example of a human expert beating a rigid algorithm.
So what's the broker's secret weapon? Well, for one, they often have access to exclusive deals you just won't find online. They're also like matchmakers. They know which lenders have an appetite for which kind of borrower. And maybe most importantly, they handle that mountain of paperwork, which is a massive, massive stress reducer, especially if you're a first-time buyer.
And you know what? The numbers really seem to back this up. According to one person on Reddit who's in the industry, a staggering 85% of all mortgages in the UK are arranged through brokers. That number alone tells you that the vast majority of people think they're getting real value.
But hold on, that's not the whole story. What about going it alone? Plenty of people successfully and happily get their own mortgages. So let's flip the script and look at the case for taking control yourself.
Let's circle back to our original poster. They did their homework, they found a killer rate, and when they talked to a broker, the broker was honest and said, nope, can't beat it. It's a perfect example of how, if you're willing to do the digging, you can absolutely find the best deal out there yourself.
So, what we're really talking about here is a classic trade-off, right? Going DIY means you are in the driver's seat. It's your research, your decision, no middleman, and no risk of getting a bad broker. The flip side, of course, is that you do all the heavy lifting. A broker takes care of all that for you, and hey, they might have those exclusive deals we talked about.
And you gotta remember, the risk of a bad experience is totally real. This user felt they were getting a really aggressive sales pitch for insurance, and it put them off using brokers for good. It's a crucial reminder that, not all brokers are created equal.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple, actually. If your situation is straightforward, like you've got a standard 9-to-5 job, a solid credit score, a nice deposit saved up, the value a broker adds might be pretty minimal. You are probably more than capable of finding a fantastic deal all on your own. All right, so this brings us to the big question, the million-dollar question, really. Do brokers actually get you better deals? Let's try to separate the myth from the reality here.
Now, the common belief, the thing you hear all the time, is, yeah, of course they do. Lenders supposedly offer these special, cheaper products only through brokers to attract business without having to do all the customer admin themselves. Makes sense, right?
But then, you get someone like this user who comes in and says, hold on a second, I've always been able to find a better deal myself. This really suggests those so-called exclusive deals aren't always the cheapest game in town.
Okay, let's put the anecdotes aside for a second and look at some actual numbers from the consumer group Which. What this shows us is that, at least when this data was pulled, the 2-year fixed rates were consistently the cheapest option no matter how big your deposit was. It's just a great illustration of how complicated the market is and how the best deal is always, always changing.
And honestly, this is probably one of the most important takeaways from this whole thing. The best deal isn't just about finding the lowest interest rate. A deal with a super low rate might have huge fees up front or massive penalties if you need to move. The truly best deal is the one that fits your entire life, not just a number on a screen.
Okay, we've heard both sides of the argument, we've looked at the data. So, what does this all mean for you? How do you actually make the final call?
Let's try and make this super clear. A broker is probably a strong bet for you if you're self-employed, if your credit is a bit spotty, if you're a first-timer who wants that hand-holding, or if you just really value your time and hate stress. But if you've got a simple job, great credit, and you actually enjoy doing the research, going DIY could work out perfectly.
You know, this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of the pro-broker argument. It's all about consequence risk. It's about what's at stake if something goes wrong with the single biggest loan of your life. For a lot of people, paying a professional for that peace of mind is worth every single penny.
But then you've got the DIY camp, and their perspective is just as valid. For them, if your situation is simple, why overcomplicate it? Just hop on a comparison site, plug in your details, and see what comes up. Almost like buying car insurance, you know? It puts you firmly in control.
So at the end of the day, there is no one-size-fits-all answer here. It really all comes down to your personal situation, your confidence level, and what you value the most. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. With your biggest financial commitment on the line, what's more valuable to you? The peace of mind of an expert guide or the complete control of being in the driver's seat?